Good afternoon, everyone. Today, for the next hour, Brad Harris and I from Full Spectrum Survival are going to discuss how to thrive in the grand solar minimum, how you can prepare right now for the changes to come, the signs around you that you're seeing, how can you get ready, how can you inform those around you, how can you get community involved. This is what we're going to discuss for the next hour. I hope it's really helpful for you. And also I encourage you to jump over to Brad's channel, Full Spectrum Survival. It's a plethora of information for you, for your personal knowledge, how to get ready for this, and how to just roll with these changes, and when others around you aren't prepared, how you can become the leader in that community because you have the skills. That's why I say jump over to Full Spectrum Survival. You're going to learn a lot from that channel. There's so much valuable knowledge there that we can be using over these next few years as things around us in our lives begin to change with rising food prices and the effects that go with that.
I think as you talked about endgame, something important to discuss there is the cogs of the world, and that, you know, oftentimes reality will be seen in video form first, in fictional movies or in books or something like that. And the people of the world panic when they know that some level of doom is imminent. And I do think that that is what, at least from the psychological studies that I have read, that's what drives the governments not to disseminate this information, not to give the people the truth. Because like you said, people would take their money out of their vacation funds and they would put it into solar power or into hardening their home or growing a garden on every front yard. They would do those types of things. And as we discuss food, something that's very important and dear to my heart is the just-in-time delivery service and system of the first world. And we rely so hard on food hitting that shelf. And no matter where you are, even if you're homesteading, if you're not completely off the grid, you're relying on something hitting that shelf using that JIT system. So what are your feelings on how extreme weather and how the events of the future can affect the just-in-time delivery system?
Yeah, I want to cover 2 points. The first one, you said solar panels, and I do believe in getting ready and having your own electrical generation system. One of the greatest skills you can know how to do is provide electricity, whether it be repair a broken system or maybe somebody has all the stuff but they don't know how to put it together. How do you recharge batteries? How do you get inverters reconnected? How do you do everything from start to finish through that system? If you can do that, you will be the most welcome person in that community beyond the person who can grow food. They'll be first, but electricity will be second.
Right.
And also with the grand solar minimum, every single repeat of this, there's an enormous amount of cloud cover that comes in. It's like this, it's a step process. The sun's solar wind decreases. So that pressure on our magnetosphere, on our atmosphere, causes changes in the jet stream. And then it also allows more galactic cosmic rays to come into our atmosphere. And it forms an entirely new cloud layer between 15,000 and 18,500 feet. And if you look at all the NASA satellites like Terra Modis, just take a look in the NASA Earth Observatory, you can see the cloud changes from the year 2000 until now. It's going to get much cloudier, so the solar panel output's going to be reduced during this time. So relying completely on solar and putting all your eggs in one basket, in my personal opinion, would be a mistake. You're going to need to diversify your electrical generation capacity because solar panels are actually going to reduce in the watts per square meter output from the sun, and you're going to have a larger cloud cover. It's going to be rainier in a lot of places, and you see all these rain records being broken, a number of cloudy days. You just can't generate if it's cloudy.
Now, I have something interesting to ask you about.
I'll come back to the JIT in just a moment, but that was my comment about the solar panels there.
Okay, I have an interesting question for you. There's a project that I was just working on today. So I have I'm working on a small perpetual magnet.
Yeah, gravitational vortex power, right.
That's right. So now I built a Joule thief. Are you familiar with what a Joule thief is?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so I built a Joule thief to just power some LED lights off of a magnetized fan. And I'm getting a couple of blinks, but I think that you're right. And what we need to do here is focus on furthering our understanding of the electricity needs that we have, and on building and repairing and getting into it and tinkering with it yourself. Because you know, Mr. Teslonian's another great channel out there. There is a vast hidden plethora of information that discusses our ability as humans to free ourselves from the requirements of nuclear power or coal generated power. And we can do that. So like you said, diversify, work with wind power generation, work with solar, but at the root of that, know how to fix it when it breaks. And, you know, a lot of people don't know how to test, you know, polarity. They don't know how to work with, you know, simple soldering. How are you going to solder off the grid if you can't plug your soldering iron in? You know, these types of things, what are you going to do? So what are your thoughts on the best ways that a person can diversify? Say they're thinking right now about going off grid for their electrical generation, or at least substantially. How would they diversify their needs there?
Well, if you do, if you're on the internet right now, look up GVP. It's called gravitational vortex power. And what this does, if you have any running water near you at all, you build a circular tank and you basically make the water spin like you would at the end of taking a bath. At that very moment, the water starts to spin as it gets ready to drain there. And we've all seen that. It makes a little water vortex tornado there.
Right.
You replicate that in a tank, in a circular tank that could actually use, you know, something that we would have for drainage. Those kind of round pipes, you just modify them slightly, make the water spin, and then you put a rotor right in there, and that'll generate enough power for you to power literally homes in America. These are not currently legal to do because you can generate so much power that you can off-sell it to your neighbors with the tiniest of units. I encourage you to look up gravitational vortex power as a secondary source. If you have any type of running water at all, from small streams to larger rivers, you can divert channels around, and you can provide so much power that you can actually overproduce and then give it off to your neighbors. That's one suggestion. How about you? What do you think? Any ideas?
I agree with that completely. I agree that you need to take advantage of anything that you have around you. So if you have a running stream, take advantage of that. If you live in a high wind area or a projected high wind area as the earth changes, take advantage of that. Use solar while you can, and diversify so that you're not reliant on just one thing. Because just like in our community of the aware and those who are looking to prepare and homestead, you don't want to rely on the government. You don't want to rely just on solar either, because if times change or if something happens, you're going to be stuck there with all of your eggs in one basket. So really moving that around and knowing how to change it up or how to salvage and how to kind of think for yourself outside of the box, like you said with GVP, is something that everyone should at least consider.
Yeah, as well. Take a look at Nikola Tesla. For those of you who are looking for more obscure ways of using the charge of the earth itself by burying copper rods within the earth itself to get a charge out of that. There's so many ways that we can start to you know, think about it. But look at Nikola Tesla and a few inventions that he had of actually generating power from the earth's electrical grid itself. You know, ley lines, everybody knows though, but it's an offset substitute of that particular, you know, our soils are comprised of metals. They conduct electricity. You just need to set it up so you can actually get the charge from the air down to the ground and get that in between. You know, that's thinking outside the box there if you want to go for a secondary type of source.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so let's get back to just-in-time delivery service. What are the pitfalls there, and what can we see if the earth really starts to change in a way that affects food shortages or crop growing, which, like you know, from Myanmar is happening already?
It is. Now, the chicken and the egg, which one's going to come first? The breakdown in the just-in-time delivery system, or the drive on food prices that are going to send it into absolutely outer space prices?
Right.
I think the economic collapse might come first because they would want to limit the population movement. Once the food prices start to increase at the end of this year, there'll be all these rosy forecasts for you know, yields coming out this year and how many millions of metric tons of either wheat or canola or corn or soybean or whatever it might be. But when we get down into 2018, it's going to be less than they forecast. And when we get into 2019, it's going to be drastically less than they forecast. There's going to be substantial price drives as people try to switch to substitution crops. If If wheat gets too expensive, you're going to move over to millet. You're going to move to sorghum, and then those prices are going to drive on that. Everything's reliant on credit. You know, just-in-time delivery revolves on 30, 60, 90-day lines of credit to get that container into the store, bought, sold, and paid for, because those are, you know, fast-moving consumer goods. Nobody's paying for a full container cash of anything. But in the future, I do believe we're going to move to more of a cash-based pay now, take now delivery system for food. It's going to get that valuable in the future. Shortage, how much food do we have in our supermarkets in the United States on general? What's the average daily number of supply that's in a supermarket? If everybody ran out there in the same day, how much food?
You don't even have a 24-day supply. You don't even have a 24-hour supply.